What if I told you the Amish have been keeping food cold without electricity? Better than your modern fridge? Sounds impossible, right? But it's not just possible. It's genius. And these forgotten techniques might just revolutionize how you store food forever. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Amish Lifestyle YouTube channel, where we uncover smart, sustainable living hacks from the past that still work today. This time, I went deep into Amish communities, studied old farming journals, watched rare footage, and even spoke with experts on traditional living. And what I found blew my mind. In this video, I'm going to show you the original fridge was built by hand, no plug needed, and it still works today. Secret ice houses that kept meat fresh for months, even in summer. And one method is so clever, it uses flowing water like a natural refrigerator. This isn't just history. It's a blueprint for smarter, cheaper, and greener food storage in the modern world. With rising energy costs and climate concerns, these methods are more relevant now than ever. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you might just want to build your own root cellar. And before we dive in, drop a comment below. Have you ever tried storing food without a fridge? Let me know. I'd love to hear your experience. Root cellars. Have you ever thought about how people kept their food fresh before refrigerators? Well, the Amish had a clever answer. Root cellars. These are like nature's fridge. They're built underground, and they use the earth to keep things cool. Think of it this way. The ground stays pretty much the same temperature all year long, especially deeper down. So if you dig into the earth or build a space into a hillside, you've got yourself a cool, stable place for storing food. That's exactly what the Amish did, and still do. Root cellars are usually made with thick walls. Some are built from stone, others from wood or even concrete. The idea is to trap the cool air inside and block out the heat from the outside. They also have good airflow. Without proper ventilation, things can get too humid. That leads to mold or spoilage, so small vents or pipes are added to let air move through. This helps control moisture and keeps food fresher longer. What kind of food goes in a root cellar? Think vegetables and fruits that last, like potatoes, carrots, onions, apples, beets and squash. These foods don't need to be frozen. They just need a cool, dark, dry place. And that's exactly what a root cellar gives them. You might be surprised how well this works. In the summer, when it's hot outside, the root cellar stays nice and cool. In the winter, it doesn't get freezing cold like outside. It's like having your own climate-controlled storage. No electricity needed. The design can vary. Some are small rooms attached to a house. Others are separate buildings with a door that opens into the ground. Some Amish families even have steps that go down into the earth, leading into a cool, dimly lit space filled with baskets and bins of food. It's not just about keeping things cold, it's about keeping them dry and protected. That's why many root cellars are built with sloped floors and drains. Water is the enemy of stored food. If it pools on the floor, it can ruin everything. So smart design helps avoid that problem. And here's another thing. These cellars don't just help with food, they also help with planning meals. Since the Amish grow a lot of their own produce, having a reliable way to store it means they can eat fresh food all year round. That's huge. Imagine harvesting your garden in the fall and still eating those carrots in January. That's the power of a root cellar. You don't have to rely on a freezer or canning machine. You just need a cool, dry place and some smart storage techniques. Some families even line the shelves with straw or sawdust. That adds another layer of insulation and helps absorb any extra moisture. They might wrap apples in paper to keep them from touching each other, because one bad apple really can spoil the bunch. Believe it or not, you don't have to live like the Amish to use a root cellar. Even today, people in rural areas and off-grid homes are building them. Some are even adding modern touches like better insulation or dehumidifiers. But the core idea remains the same. Use the earth to keep food cool. In fact, if you have a basement, you already have part of what you need. A few modifications, and you could have your own mini root cellar at home. That's right, no digging required. So next time you open your fridge, think about how something as simple as dirt and airflow can do the same job, without a single plug-in. That's the magic of the root cellar. And guess what? We're just getting started. There's more where that came from, like ice houses and spring houses. Stick around, because the Amish had even more genius tricks up their sleeves. Ice houses. Now that we've seen how root cellars work, let's go deeper into the Amish cold storage system. This time, it's all about ice houses. One of the coolest, literally, ways they kept food fresh without electricity. You might be wondering, how did they keep things frozen without freezers? Well, the Amish didn't wait for modern tech. They used winter itself to their advantage. Every year, during the coldest months, Amish families would harvest ice from ponds, lakes, or even rivers. They'd cut large blocks out of the frozen surface using hand tools. Then, they'd haul those heavy slabs of ice to a special building, the ice house. The ice house was like a freezer made by nature and built by hand. It wasn't just a shed for ice. It was carefully designed to hold cold temperatures for as long as possible. These buildings were usually small, sturdy, and well insulated. Thick walls made from wood, stone, or brick helped trap the cold inside. But the real secret was what they used to pack the ice. Materials like straw, sawdust, or hay. Why those? Because they're natural insulators. They keep the cold locked in and the heat out. The more layers of insulation, the slower the ice would melt, sometimes lasting all the way into summer. Inside the ice house, the ice was stacked neatly, packed tight with those insulating materials between each layer. Perishable foods like meat, dairy, or eggs could be stored right next to or on top of the ice. As the ice slowly melted, it kept the whole space cool. Even after most of it had turned to water, the temperature stayed low enough to preserve food for weeks, sometimes even months. This method was especially important before grocery stores and refrigerated trucks. If you raised your own animals or bought meat in bulk, you needed a way to keep it safe to eat for longer than a day or two. Ice houses gave the Amish a reliable solution. No electricity, no machines, just smart use of nature's resources. And here's something interesting. The shape and location of the ice house mattered a lot. Many were built facing north to avoid direct sunlight. Some were partially buried in the ground to take advantage of the Earth's cooling effect. They also had tight-fitting doors to prevent warm air from sneaking in. And some had small drainage holes at the bottom to let melted ice escape, so food wouldn't sit in water and spoil. It's amazing how something as simple as ice could be turned into a powerful tool for food preservation. The Amish weren't just surviving, they were thriving with these clever methods. And guess what? You don't have to live off-grid to try this today. People who love homesteading, eco-living, or cutting energy costs are bringing back the ice house idea, with modern twists. Some use old coolers or insulated boxes packed with ice from their freezer. Others build small structures in shaded areas and line them with foam or reflective material for better insulation. Even if you're not ready to dig a root cellar or build an ice house, you can still learn from these techniques. Sometimes, the best solutions come from looking back at what worked before. We're not done yet. There's another surprising method the Amish used to keep food cold. Let's move on to spring houses, where running water did the job of a fridge. Spring houses. Let's talk about one of the coolest Amish food storage secrets, spring houses. These are not just any old building. They're like nature's fridge, powered by water. Spring houses are built over natural springs or small streams. The idea is simple. use the cool, flowing water to keep food cold. No electricity, no machines, just running water and smart design. How does it work? Well, the water from a spring stays at a pretty steady temperature all year. In most places, that means it's cold enough to act like a refrigerator. Amish families would build a small structure right over the stream. Inside, they'd place shelves or wooden racks. Some even had stone platforms that sat right in the water. This made it easy to store milk, butter, eggs, and other foods that needed to stay fresh. The constant movement of the water is key. Stagnant water gets warm and can grow bacteria. But moving water stays clean and cool. It also helps pull heat away from the food, keeping everything fresh longer. Imagine putting a jar of milk into a spring house. The cold water flows around it. It keeps the milk cool without any effort. That's exactly how the Amish kept their dairy safe to drink for days, even in summer. These spring houses were often placed near the home or farm. That made it easy to check on food regularly. Some were even built with a small drain so water could flow out without flooding the floor. Another benefit? Humidity control. The presence of water naturally adds moisture to the air. This helped prevent fruits and vegetables from drying out too fast. It was the perfect balance between cool and moist, ideal for certain kinds of food storage. Some spring houses had covers or lids on the storage areas. Others used cloth or wooden boxes to protect the food from dirt or bugs. The goal was always the same: keep things clean, cool, and fresh without modern tech. You might be surprised how effective this method was. Butter stayed firm and didn't go rancid quickly. Milk lasted longer than it would sitting on a countertop. Even meats wrapped tightly and placed in the coldest part of the spring house could survive for a few days. This technique wasn't just used by the Amish. Many early American settlers built spring houses too. Before refrigeration, this was one of the best ways to keep food cool in rural areas. And here's something cool. You don't have to live in an Amish community to try this today. If you live near a freshwater source, you can experiment with natural cooling using water. Even if you don't have access to a real spring, you can mimic the idea. Some modern homesteaders use insulated containers filled with cold water to store food outside during cooler months. It's amazing how such a simple idea, using cold water to keep things fresh, has worked for centuries. And we're not done yet. There's more to uncover about how the Amish stayed cool without power. Next up, we'll explore how these old techniques are still useful today, and how you might already have what you need to try them at home. Modern twists on old techniques. So far, we've seen how the Amish used root cellars, ice houses, and spring houses to keep food cold without electricity. But here's the cool part. These old methods aren't just history. People today are bringing them back, with modern upgrades. You don't have to live off-grid or give up your fridge to benefit from these ideas. In fact, many homeowners, gardeners, and eco-conscious families are mixing old wisdom with new tools to save energy and keep food fresh longer. For example, some people are building modern root cellars right in their backyards. These versions use better insulation like foam board or concrete blocks. Some even add small fans for airflow or dehumidifiers to control moisture. The idea is still the same. Use the Earth's natural coolness. But now it's more efficient and easier to build. Even if you don't have space for a full cellar, you can use part of your basement or build a mini version in a shed. Then there's the ice house concept. While not everyone harvests ice from a pond anymore, some people are using insulated coolers or homemade ice boxes packed with sawdust or straw. These setups can keep food cool during camping trips, power outages, or even backyard parties. No electricity needed. It's like a portable fridge powered by ice and smart design. And what about spring houses? They're harder to replicate unless you live near running water, but some homesteaders are finding clever ways around that. They use flowing water systems made with pumps and containers to mimic the cooling effect. Even city dwellers are getting creative. Some are using small basements, shaded balconies, or insulated bags to store produce longer. Others are trying zero-energy cooling boxes inspired by traditional designs. What's really exciting is how people are combining old techniques with modern tech. Solar-powered fridges, for instance, work great alongside a root cellar. That way, you get the best of both worlds: natural cooling and backup refrigeration. As more of us look for ways to cut energy costs and live greener lives, these time-tested methods are making a comeback. And it's not just about saving money. It's about reconnecting with simpler, smarter ways of living. We're not done yet. Next, we'll take a closer look at why these methods still work so well and how science backs up what the Amish have known all along. Why it still works. So why do these old Amish methods still work so well today? The answer lies in science, and it's simpler than you might think. Root cellars, ice houses, and spring houses all use natural forces like insulation, evaporation, and the Earth's stable temperature. These are things that never change, which is why these techniques have lasted for centuries. Take root cellars, for example. They stay cool because they're underground. The Earth acts like a blanket, keeping the temperature inside steady all year. Even when it's hot outside, the soil stays cool deep down. That's called thermal mass, meaning the ground absorbs heat slowly and releases it just as slowly. This helps keep food fresh without electricity. Ice houses work on a similar idea. Ice takes a lot of heat to melt. That's called latent heat. So even as it starts to melt, it keeps the space around it cold. Add layers of straw or sawdust for insulation, and that ice can last for months. Then there are spring houses. These use flowing water to carry away heat. Water holds and moves heat better than air, so it naturally cools anything placed in it. That's why milk or butter stored in a spring house stayed fresh longer, no power needed. These aren't just clever tricks. They're based on real scientific principles, and best of all, they don't harm the environment. Modern fridges use energy, produce carbon emissions, and often end up in landfills. But traditional methods rely only on nature. No electricity, no chemicals, no waste, just sustainable cooling. That's why more people are looking back at these methods now. With rising energy costs and climate concerns, finding ways to reduce our reliance on electric appliances makes sense. Even if you don't build a full root cellar, you can apply these ideas. Store potatoes in a cool, dark place. Keep fruits like apples in a box lined with newspaper. Use a cooler with ice to mimic an ice house during a power outage. These small changes add up. Less energy used means lower bills and a smaller carbon footprint. And let's not forget the health benefits. Food stored in natural coolers often tastes better and keeps more nutrients. Without extreme cold or drying from modern fridges, fruits and vegetables stay crisp and flavourful longer. So while we may live in a world full of high-tech gadgets, sometimes the best solutions come from the past. And that's exactly what the Amish figured out long ago, using science, nature, and simplicity to keep food fresh without ever plugging in a fridge. We're getting close to the end. Next up is the final section where we'll wrap everything up and give you a strong call to action. So there you have it. The Amish have been keeping food cold for centuries without electricity, using nothing more than nature and smart design. From root cellars that tap into the Earth's steady temperature, to ice houses that trap winter's chill for months, and spring houses that use flowing water like a fridge. These methods are not only clever, they're proven. And here's the best part. You don't have to live like the Amish to benefit from these ideas. Whether you're trying to cut energy costs, reduce food waste, or just explore smarter ways to store food, these techniques can work for you too. Think about how much we rely on our fridges today. Now imagine having a backup plan that doesn't need power. That's what these old-school methods offer. a reliable, eco-friendly way to keep your food fresh, even when the grid goes down. Plus, these aren't just about survival, they're about quality. Food stored the traditional way often tastes better, lasts longer, and keeps more of its nutrients. No harsh chemicals, no noisy machines, just natural cooling at its finest. If this video gave you some new ideas or made you curious about old-school food hacks, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Have you ever tried storing food without a fridge? Maybe you've built a mini root cellar, used a cooler like an ice house, or even experimented with natural cooling at home. Also, if you found this fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We're diving deep into forgotten life hacks, frugal living tips, and smart solutions from the past that still work today. Until next time, stay curious, stay smart, and keep exploring the Amish lifestyle YouTube channel of the past.